The veil of eternal echoes ***, the wind whispered through the towering pillars of the forgotten city, carrying with it the faintest traces of songs long abandoned. They were not songs of joy or sorrow, but of memory, of moments caught between the folds of time, as if the world itself had decided to keep its secrets hidden in the spaces between heartbeats. Liara stepped lightly along the cracked cobblestones, her eyes scanning the shadows cast by arches that seemed to stretch infinitely upward, each one a gateway to stories no one had dared to tell. She could feel the resonance beneath her feet, a subtle vibration that hummed in harmony with the quiet pulse of her own heartbeat. In her hand, she carried a slender, silver amulet, engraved with symbols she did not fully understand. Yet each line and curve seemed to thrum with familiarity, as though it had been shaped by memories not entirely her own. She had come to this place not out of curiosity but out of necessity. The dreams had begun weeks ago, fragments at first, fleeting visions of a vast hall bathed in golden light, where voices spoke without words and faces shimmered like reflections in a fractured mirror. Each night, the dreams grew more insistent, tugging her closer to this city, urging her to walk its deserted streets and seek the truth hidden beneath its luminous decay. The first echo reached her as she paused beneath an archway that appeared impossibly high, carved from stone so smooth it seemed liquid under the fading light of dusk. A voice, or perhaps a thought, brushed against the edges of her mind. "The veil trembles only for those who listen." She whispered the words aloud, and the sound of her own voice reverberated strangely, mingling with the faint tones of music she could now hear more clearly, distant but undeniably present. She followed it instinctively, stepping through corridors lined with statues of figures she could not name. Their eyes seemed to track her progress, not with hostility but with the quiet expectancy of something waiting. It was then she noticed the first anomaly, a door suspended in the air, without frame or hinges, glowing softly with an inner light. Liara reached out, her fingers brushing the luminous surface, and the instant they touched, a shiver coursed through her. The world shifted. Colors she had never seen before danced in the corners of her vision, and she felt herself stretched across moments, as if she were both within the city and apart from it, existing simultaneously in now and then. Voices spoke, not in words but in rhythm, weaving around her consciousness, urging her onward. She realized with a quiet awe that the city itself was alive, a memory given form, and she, for reasons yet unknown, had been chosen to traverse its depths. As she moved, corridors twisted and reformed, stretching into vistas of impossible architecture where waterfalls fell upward and staircases spiraled into clouds of light. Each step brought a new revelation, a fresco depicting a civilization of beings whose features were blurred, yet whose gestures expressed longing, celebration, and wisdom all at once. Liara could feel the weight of their stories pressing gently upon her mind, images folding into one another, a tapestry of lives that had never touched her yet now felt intimately hers. She paused at the edge of a vast plaza, the center dominated by a fountain whose waters shimmered like liquid crystal. As she approached, the waters stirred, forming shapes that mirrored her own thoughts and fears, but also possibilities she had never dared to consider. The surface rippled, and from it emerged a figure composed entirely of light, neither solid nor transparent, yet fully present. "You have come," the figure said, voice like wind through chimes, carrying with it both serenity and urgency. "You are Liara, the one who hears the veiled echoes, the one who will bridge what was forgotten with what may yet be remembered." Liara felt the words resonate through her, confirming truths she had only felt in dreams, fragments of understanding now made whole. I don't understand," she whispered, though she knew the figure could perceive the truth of her being. "Why me? Why now?" "Because the veil thins," the figure replied, and as it spoke, the plaza itself seemed to ripple, revealing glimpses of worlds layered atop one another, places of light and shadow, joy and quiet sorrow, moments captured like jewels suspended in air. The echoes are not merely sounds or memories. They are the essence of what persists beyond what is seen. They are waiting for you to hear them, to walk among them, to choose which threads to weave into the present. Lyra's heart pounded as she realized the magnitude of what was being asked of her. This was no ordinary journey. It was a crossing, a delicate navigation through the infinite possibilities of existence. Each step she took would alter the weave of the city, the echoes, and perhaps even her own essence. Her gaze fell upon the amulet, which now pulsed with light in perfect synchronization with the radiant figure before her. She understood. not through intellect but through the deep intuition of her being, that it was both guide and key, attuned to the echoes that only she could hear. She took a deep breath, feeling the weight of countless unseen eyes upon her, not with judgment but with expectation. Then, with deliberate intent, she stepped forward into a corridor that shimmered with golden threads of sound and light. The walls vibrated with whispered histories, each tone conveying a fragment of life, a choice, a consequence that spanned centuries. She could sense her own memories mingling with these echoes, past experiences resonating with events long vanished, forming connections she had never imagined. Time became pliable, moments stretching and folding in ways that disoriented and enthralled her. She passed figures that were neither alive nor gone, their gestures frozen yet brimming with vitality, their presence teaching her the fluidity of existence and the importance of observation without interference. Lyra's mind raced as she realized she was learning not only the language of the echoes but the rhythm of being itself, the subtle balance between presence and absence. Every sound, every shimmer of light carried a lesson: patience, attention, courage, empathy, the quiet power of bearing witness. Arzor was at centuries, passed in the corridors before she reached a chamber unlike any she had seen. The ceiling arched impossibly high, its surface reflecting constellations she recognized yet could not place, spinning slowly as if alive. In the center of the chamber rested a pedestal, and atop it lay a sphere of pure, swirling light, shifting in patterns that defied conventional understanding. The luminous figure approached, pausing at her side. "This," it said, "is the heart of echoes. It holds the confluence of every memory that has ever passed through this city, every choice that shaped its being, every whisper of hope and despair. To touch it is to acknowledge the responsibility of what you carry forward." Lyra extended her hands, feeling the gentle pull of the sphere toward her, as though it recognized her readiness even before she did. As her fingers brushed its surface, waves of sensation flooded her consciousness, landscapes she had never seen, emotions she had never felt, knowledge she had never learned. Each thread was a story, a life, a lesson intertwined with infinite others, and for the first time, she understood the true weight of listening. The figure's voice echoed once more, "Every choice you make will ripple outward. Each step is a note in the symphony of existence. You are no longer merely an observer. You are a participant, a weaver of what endures." Lyra felt tears welling, though she did not know if they were joy, awe, or the profound resonance of the echoes themselves. She could sense the beginning of her transformation, the subtle shifting of boundaries between self and world, between memory and moment. When she finally withdrew her hands, the sphere had changed, as though her touch had imprinted itself upon its surface. The luminous figure smiled, a gesture both warm and solemn. "Rest now, Lyra. The veil will continue to guide you, and tomorrow you will walk paths unseen, hear echoes unheard, and confront truths unspoken. The journey has only begun." As Lyra stepped back from the pedestal, the chamber dissolved into streams of light and sound that carried her gently to the plaza's edge. The city stretched endlessly before her, corridors and plazas and staircases spiraling into realms of endless possibility. She realized that she was no longer bound by fear or doubt. She was tethered instead to understanding, curiosity, and the steady pulse of responsibility. Every shadow held a story, every flicker of light a hint, and every echo a chance to shape what had been and what could be. She inhaled deeply, feeling the resonance of the city blend with the rhythm of her own heart. Somewhere beyond the horizon, she sensed other echoes, other travelers perhaps, or memories waiting to converge. And as she stepped forward into the first of these infinite paths, she understood that the veil was not a boundary to be crossed but a living tapestry to be woven, thread by luminous thread, with every step, every choice, every heartbeat echoing into eternity. The first light of dawn did not arrive as she expected. Instead of sun or sky, a soft luminescence spilled across the plaza, bathing the city in hues she could not name. Lyra stood at the edge of the expanse, sensing a pulse beneath the stones, a rhythm deeper than time itself, as if the city were breathing, alive in ways she had only begun to comprehend. Every step she took resonated, sending ripples through the echoes that seemed to respond with gentle murmurs, brushing the edges of her consciousness like a caress and a caution all at once. She felt a presence approaching, though no figure appeared. It was a movement of the air, a subtle shift in vibration that carried a strange familiarity. "You have awakened fully," a voice whispered, threading itself into her thoughts rather than striking her ears. And yet, Awakening is only the beginning. Lyra turned instinctively, searching the plaza, but saw nothing. The voice continued, the path ahead is not mapped by sight, but by resonance. Listen carefully, and do not mistake shadows for silence. A corridor of light appeared before her, twisting upward like a spiral staircase without steps, suspended in the air, formed entirely of glowing threads that hummed in subtle harmony with the amulet she wore. Compelled by both instinct and curiosity, she stepped onto it. Each movement sent vibrations through the threads, weaving a symphony that she could feel as much as hear. The corridor stretched endlessly, but with each step, the threads shifted to create paths, revealing glimpses of spaces she had not yet explored. Gardens where luminous flowers hummed, fountains pouring liquid light that defied gravity, and figures whose faces shimmered like reflections in water, each frozen in moments of emotion so pure it brought tears to her eyes. And yet, beneath the beauty, there was something else, a gentle tension that whispered of trials yet to come. The voice spoke again, every echo you encounter is a choice. Some reveal guidance, some reveal truths you are not yet ready to bear. Pay attention, for the distinction is subtle, but the consequence is enduring. As Lyra continued, a new sensation grew within her, a blending of fear and exhilaration. The awareness that she was no longer merely walking through a city but navigating a living consciousness. The walls of the corridor seemed to bend with her thoughts, expanding when she hesitated, contracting when she acted with clarity. Every hesitation, every intention, reverberated in ways she was just beginning to understand. A figure appeared at the far end of the corridor, unlike the one she had met in the plaza. This one was fragmented, composed of shifting light and shadow, features constantly rearranging as if it were attempting to express something just beyond comprehension. "I am the keeper of reflections," it said, and the sound of its voice was both everywhere and nowhere, wrapping around her like a gentle wind. "You have touched the heart, but to carry the echoes, you must first face the mirrors of self. Only then will the city reveal what it truly desires you to know." Lyra stepped forward, and as she did, the corridor dissolved into a hall of mirrors, each surface shimmering with possibilities. Some reflected her own image, yet altered, older, younger, stronger, more vulnerable, each version a fragment of choices made or unmade. Others showed scenes that were not her own, landscapes and figures from times and places she did not recognize but felt intimately connected to. The reflection keeper drifted beside her, its shifting form allowing glimpses of light through its fragmented body. To pass through, you must witness without judgment. See what is, what could have been, and what may yet be. Every choice you make here leaves an imprint. Do not fear the imprint. Fear only the loss of awareness. Lyra moved among the mirrors, her gaze shifting from one to another, absorbing the subtle lessons each presented. A version of herself laughed freely in a meadow of glowing grass, untouched by doubt, radiating pure joy. Another trembled beneath the weight of unseen burdens, yet its eyes held resilience, a quiet strength that defied circumstance. She realized with a sudden clarity that the reflections were not merely images but echoes of possibility, fragments of her own being refracted across time and circumstance. As she observed, she felt the amulet pulse more insistently, guiding her toward a particular mirror that did not show her at all, but instead a sprawling library of luminous tomes, each floating in midair, spinning slowly as if in orbit. She reached out, and the moment her fingers brushed one of the books, words formed in the air, not on paper but in light, sentences woven into the texture of the city itself. They spoke of choices, of paths converging, of echoes waiting to be heard and preserved. "You are learning," the keeper murmured, its voice now closer, almost beside her ear. "The city reveals itself only to those who are willing to witness fully. Do not close your eyes to the truth, Lyra, for the veil is thin and fragile, and the echoes are patient but persistent." Hours passed, or perhaps moments. Time had little meaning here. Lyra felt herself drawn deeper into the library, guided by the silent pulse of the amulet. Each book she touched unfurled visions, civilizations rising and falling, celebrations of light and understanding, and quiet moments of contemplation and connection. She realized that each echo she absorbed was not merely knowledge but a resonance that would inform her choices, shaping not only her journey but the subtle shifts of the city itself. And then, as if sensing her readiness, the library dissolved into a garden unlike any she had yet seen. The plants shimmered with internal light, and the air was thick with the scent of impossible blooms that seemed to hum softly in tune with the amulet. At the center of the garden, a pool reflected a sky that was not her own, constellations unfamiliar yet beautiful beyond measure. From the pool rose another figure, serene and graceful, composed of liquid light that flowed like water yet retained form. "You have walked the corridors of reflection and touched the heart of possibility," it said. "Now comes the test of resonance. To truly carry the echoes, you must learn not only to hear them but to respond, to harmonize with what is hidden beneath what is seen." Lyra stepped closer, her reflection rippling across the surface of the pool. She could feel every story, every echo, merging with her being, yet retaining their own distinct voices, demanding recognition, demanding patience, demanding care. "What must I do?" she whispered, and the figure's response was a gentle pulse through the air, a vibration that resonated in her chest. It was neither instruction nor answer but a rhythm, a pattern she was meant to follow, to internalize, to respond to. As she lifted her hands, the water of the pool rose, forming shapes and scenes, each one a narrative of lives intersecting, choices converging, and echoes persisting across time. Lyra's pulse synchronized with the rhythm, and she began to move in harmony with the forms, understanding intuitively the subtleties of timing, of recognition, of empathy. Moments of hesitation were met with subtle correction, moments of clarity amplified. The garden seemed to breathe with her, its flowers leaning as if to witness her steps, its light pulses responding to her rhythm. Hours, days, or lifetimes passed, yet Lyra felt neither exhaustion nor boredom. She was fully immersed, each movement a dialogue with the city, each pulse a conversation with the echoes. And then, when the dance reached its crescendo, the pool stilled, the garden quieted, and the figure spoke again. "You are ready to step beyond reflection and resonance. The next path awaits, one that will test not only your understanding but your courage, your patience, your compassion. Remember always, the echoes are eternal, but the choices are yours to make." The garden dissolved, leaving her once again on the plaza, the city stretching infinitely before her. Corridors and staircases and arches spiraling in every direction. The amulet glowed steadily, no longer merely pulsing but resonating, a constant reminder that she was not alone, that the echoes were within her as much as they were around her. And as Lyra took her first step onto a new path, one that shimmered with threads of gold and violet, she understood that her journey was far from over. The veil of the city was not a wall to be crossed but a living, breathing presence to be understood and honored. Each echo, each reflection, each choice would shape the unfolding story, and she was both participant and witness, the bridge between memory and possibility. Somewhere in the distance, beyond corridors and gardens, staircases and fountains of light, she sensed a convergence. A moment approaching where echoes would collide, harmonies would be tested, and the true measure of her readiness would be revealed. And yet, in that awareness, there was no fear. Only anticipation, curiosity, and the quiet certainty that the journey, the learning, and the resonance were all part of the unfolding symphony of existence. The veil shimmered, alive with countless voices, countless possibilities, and Lyra, her heart beating in time with the eternal echoes, stepped forward into the unknown, ready to listen, ready to act, ready to weave the threads of light and memory into the fabric of what was yet to come. The threads of light beneath Lyra's feet pulsed with a rhythm that seemed almost alive, guiding her deeper into the labyrinthine city. Each step she took resonated, sending subtle vibrations through the corridors that twisted like rivers of glass, reflecting fragments of past, present, and possibility. The air itself hummed with anticipation, carrying whispers she could feel more than hear, murmurs that hinted at secrets yet untold. Somewhere ahead, a gate shimmered into existence, composed of pure light and shadow, its edges dissolving into the fabric of the city. Lyra approached it cautiously, sensing that beyond it lay a challenge unlike any she had faced. As she reached out, a sudden vision struck her, a vast chamber filled with towering mirrors, their surfaces not reflecting her image, but instead displaying moments from countless lives. Intertwined yet distinct, a tapestry of choices and consequences. Her heart quickened as she realized this was more than reflection, it was resonance. The city itself demanded that she recognize not just what had been but what could be, that she understand the weight and beauty of potential. A figure emerged from the folds of light, delicate and ever-shifting, neither fully present nor absent. "The echoes have chosen you," it said, its voice flowing like liquid wind. "But to truly hear them, you must understand their language. Each note, each pulse, each subtle vibration holds meaning. Misread it, and you disrupt the balance. Interpret it, and you may shape destiny itself." Lyra stepped forward, guided by intuition and the soft glow of her amulet, which now seemed almost sentient. Aligning with her thoughts, responding to her focus, the mirrors began to shimmer and ripple as she passed, revealing sequences of events that twisted like threads of light through the air, civilizations rising in harmony, falling in quiet understanding, individuals making choices that created echoes resonating through time. She realized that each reflection was not static but alive, responding to her presence, waiting for recognition, for acknowledgement. One mirror drew her closer, showing a scene she instinctively knew was hers, not a memory she had lived, but a possibility she might yet choose. In the vision, she walked across a bridge of glowing strands suspended above a void of soft, radiant mist. Each step she took caused waves of light to ripple outward, illuminating structures that had once been hidden, revealing paths intertwined with her own essence. She extended her hand toward the mirror, and the amulet flared with a bright pulse, binding her to the vision. In that instant, she felt the convergence of countless echoes within her, their vibrations threading into her mind, her heartbeat aligning with the rhythm of the city itself. To carry the echoes is not merely to hear them, the figure murmured, its form drifting beside her. It is to become their instrument, to act in harmony with their resonance, to create from awareness rather than impulse. Only then do the echoes endure. Lyra stepped onto the bridge within the vision, and the air vibrated with soft tones that resonated in every corner of her being. She realized she was not alone. Other presences moved alongside her, faint silhouettes that shimmered in and out of perception. They were echoes themselves, fragments of experiences and choices converging into forms that could interact, influence, and learn. Each step became a dialogue, a dance of intention and response, and with each movement, she felt her awareness expanding. The bridge twisted and curved impossibly, leading her to a sphere of liquid light hovering above the void. Its surface shimmered with patterns she could not name, yet understood intuitively, histories folding over themselves, possibilities intertwining, consequences spreading outward like ripples in water. She reached for the sphere, and as her fingers brushed its surface, an overwhelming cascade of insight poured into her. She saw lives she had touched unknowingly, choices she had yet to make, paths she might take that would echo for centuries, and the delicate balance of cause and effect, intention and outcome. She staggered under the weight of understanding, yet the amulet glowed steadily, anchoring her, reminding her that she was both participant and observer. The figure's voice returned, now softer, intimate, wrapping around her consciousness like a gentle tide. Do not fear the resonance. Fear only the neglect of awareness. Every vibration, every whisper, every subtle tone is a thread. Weave with intention, and the echoes persist. Ignore, and the threads fray. You are the weaver now. Lyra's mind opened further, absorbing the patterns and rhythms, feeling herself becoming attuned to the symphony of the city. Each step across the bridge became deliberate, conscious, each pulse of the amulet a guide through the complex harmony of light and sound. As she reached the center of the sphere, the liquid light formed a mirror-like surface, reflecting not her physical form but the convergence of her inner and outer selves, a radiant fusion of perception, choice, and resonance. She understood, suddenly, that she had crossed a threshold. The echoes were no longer around her, they were within her, inseparable from her own being, shaping her as she shaped them. The bridge dissolved into threads of radiant mist, carrying her gently downward into a garden suspended above a radiant chasm. The garden's flora shimmered with internal illumination, responding subtly to her presence, bending and leaning in recognition. Pools of liquid light reflected infinite skies, and from each pool rose figures formed of flowing luminescence, observing, interacting, existing as echoes of events long past or yet to come. Lyra approached a pool, and the water formed shapes that mirrored her thoughts, her questions, her fears, and her curiosity. Each ripple became a lesson: patience, clarity, courage, empathy, and the quiet power of attentive observation. As she moved through the garden, the figures spoke, not in words but in gentle pulses, rhythms, and tones that she could feel rather than hear. She realized that each interaction was a conversation, a negotiation between understanding and resonance, and she began to respond intuitively, matching patterns, harmonizing where discord appeared, correcting where imbalance threatened. Time blurred entirely. She lost count of cycles, of breaths, of steps, immersed fully in the living dialogue of the city and its echoes. And then, without warning, the garden dissolved into a plaza. But it was different now. The air felt denser, charged with potential. The architecture twisting in impossible geometry. Each arch and stair and corridor humming with anticipation. She sensed a presence ahead, solid yet luminous, a being composed of converging echoes, waiting. It did not speak but radiated expectation, a quiet challenge that drew her forward. Lyra stepped toward it, and with each movement, the amulet thrummed, guiding her, warning her, supporting her. She realized that this was the convergence the figure in the plaza had hinted at, a meeting of echoes, a harmonization of threads. A moment where her choices, her awareness, and her resonance would be tested. The being extended a hand, and Lyra understood without thought that she must step into its light, into the unknown, and merge her awareness with its own. As she did, a wave of understanding passed through her. The echoes were not separate from life, nor were they passive. They were currents of potential, flowing endlessly through moments, choices, and awareness, waiting for attention, for recognition, for harmony. And in that instant, Lyra felt herself fully integrated into the symphony of existence, a conscious participant in the eternal flow of echoes, a weaver of light, memory, and possibility. The plaza shimmered, the threads of the city bending and flowing around her as she moved, fully attuned to the rhythm of every pulse, every whisper, every hidden note. She understood now that the veil was not a barrier, not a puzzle, not a challenge to conquer. It was a living, breathing presence, a guide, a partner, a reflection of her own capacity to listen, to perceive, and to harmonize with the eternal resonance of all that had been and all that could be. And as Lyra took her first step forward beyond the convergence, she knew without doubt that her journey was far from over. Every echo she had carried, every reflection she had witnessed, every resonance she had felt would ripple outward, shaping her path and the world around her. The veil pulsed in acknowledgement, alive with infinite possibility, and Lyra, her heart aligned with the eternal echoes, stepped boldly into the unfolding story, ready to weave the next thread, ready to listen, ready to act, ready to harmonize. Lyra stepped into a corridor that shimmered with shifting light, threads of gold and violet weaving around her like living rivers. The air was thick with possibility, carrying echoes that pressed gently against her consciousness, whispering secrets of worlds she had not yet seen. Every step she took was a conversation with the city itself. The cobblestones beneath her feet hummed softly, responding to her heartbeat, resonating with choices she had made and those yet to come. A doorway appeared before her, not fixed in the stone but suspended in space, pulsing faintly with an inner rhythm. The moment her fingers brushed its surface, the corridor dissolved, replaced by a vast expanse of floating islands, suspended in light and mist, each one alive with its own patterns of resonance. Lyra felt the amulet pulse urgently, guiding her to a particular path. The islands shifted subtly as she moved, revealing hidden bridges of luminescent strands connecting realms of shadow and brilliance. She understood instinctively that each bridge represented a choice, a commitment to engage with a specific thread of echoes, and she stepped onto the first carefully, feeling the vibrations travel up her legs and through her chest. The world around her expanded and contracted with every movement. Colors and sounds intertwined, forming patterns she could feel as much as see. On the nearest island, a circle of figures emerged from the mist, their forms fluid, composed of light that flickered with recognition and anticipation. Lyra sensed that these were not merely echoes, but fragments of entities who had journeyed this path before, leaving traces of understanding for those who followed. One figure approached, its eyes pools of shifting illumination. The resonance deepens, it said, voice like a bell tolling softly through water. You have moved beyond reflection, beyond the first harmonies. Here, you will encounter threads that do not respond to thought alone but require the clarity of heart, the patience of mind, and the courage to step into uncertainty. Lyra's pulse quickened as she absorbed the weight of these words. The bridge beneath her shifted, stretching into a spiral that descended into a glowing mist, revealing glimpses of realms intertwined with her own, impossible yet palpably real. She took a deep breath, allowing her senses to expand, feeling the vibration of each echo around her, learning to distinguish subtle patterns, harmonizing where there was discord, and recognizing when to wait. A sudden surge of sensation hit her as the island beneath her shifted again, forming a staircase of light descending into a vast chamber floating in the void. The walls shimmered with constellations she did not recognize, each star pulsating with the rhythm of stories, choices, and lives intersecting across space and time. Lyra stepped carefully, guided by the amulet's persistent pulse, and entered the chamber, feeling the presence of countless echoes swirling like wind around her. At the center of the chamber floated a prism of liquid light, its surface fracturing into infinite reflections, each one revealing fragments of her own past, present, and possible futures. She realized that this was a convergence of her own essence with the accumulated resonance of the city. Every memory, every choice, every pulse she had encountered was here, waiting to be harmonized, acknowledged, and woven into the ongoing symphony. The figure from the island appeared beside her, now fully formed of converging light and shadow. To move forward, it said, you must recognize the patterns not as separate strands, but as an orchestra. Every echo is a note, every choice a rhythm, every intention a melody. Only when you conduct with awareness will the path reveal itself fully. Lyra stepped closer to the prism, placing her hands upon its surface. Instantly, waves of sensation coursed through her, images of civilizations rising in quiet brilliance, individuals choosing paths that resonated far beyond their own perception, echoes intertwining to form harmonies that persisted across dimensions. Her consciousness expanded to meet the rhythm, her mind, heart, and soul moving in synchrony with the pulse of the city. The prism responded, bending light and sound to her awareness, shaping new paths, revealing connections she had not yet perceived. Lyra understood that her journey was no longer linear. It was a complex interplay of resonance, intention, and awareness, a dance with echoes that required both humility and courage. She moved carefully, her steps guided by intuition, her heartbeat aligned with the flowing symphony around her. Each bridge she crossed, each thread she touched, expanded the resonance, allowing her to glimpse possibilities that shimmered with infinite potential. And then, at the far edge of the chamber, a figure appeared unlike any she had encountered before. It was vast, composed of layers of light and shadow, its form constantly shifting, impossible to define fully, yet unmistakably present. This is the Nexus, it said, voice deep and resonant, vibrating through the very fabric of the chamber. Here, echoes converge and choices crystallize. The harmony you have cultivated will be tested, and the threads you have woven will determine not only your path but the balance of resonance within this realm. Lyra felt awe and anticipation intertwining. She realized the Nexus was both guardian and guide, a mirror of her own understanding and mastery of the echoes. She stepped forward, her pulse steady, aligning with the rhythms flowing through the chamber. Streams of light responded to her presence, forming patterns that harmonized with her movements, each pulse a dialogue, each reflection a lesson. The Nexus expanded and contracted with subtle imperceptible shifts, its presence both challenge and opportunity. Lyra's awareness deepened, perceiving not only the patterns before her but the subtle vibrations that ran through the city. The threads connecting echoes and choices. The intricate weave of resonance she had begun to master. She extended her hand toward the heart of the Nexus, and a surge of insight coursed through her. The veil was not merely a threshold, but a living, breathing guide, responsive to intention, awareness, and the harmony of being. She understood fully for the first time that her role was not passive. She was both observer and participant, weaver and resonance, bridge and conduit. The chamber pulsed with recognition, the Nexus bending its form slightly, as if acknowledging her readiness. Lyra inhaled deeply, stepping fully into its light, and felt herself merge with the currents of echo and possibility, a conscious part of the eternal symphony. Outside the chamber, the floating islands shimmered, bridges of light and mist stretching outward, infinite yet interconnected. Lyra could sense the paths yet to explore, the echoes yet to harmonize, the choices yet to be made. And for the first time, she felt a profound serenity, an understanding that the journey was ongoing, expansive, and ever-evolving. Every pulse, every whisper, every reflection was part of the living narrative, waiting for her awareness, her intention, and her resonance to shape it. She stepped forward beyond the Nexus, into threads of light stretching endlessly, ready to continue weaving the story, ready to listen deeply, ready to act with purpose, ready to harmonize with the eternal echoes that flowed through the veil and beyond, shaping everything with subtle, luminous inevitability. Lyra emerged from the Nexus into a realm suspended between light and shadow, a vast expanse where the horizon seemed to shimmer like liquid crystal, and the air itself thrummed with a quiet, insistent energy. The threads of the city stretched outward in all directions, twisting and spiraling into shapes that defied conventional understanding, forming bridges, towers, and pathways made of luminescent strands that pulsed in resonance with her own heartbeat. She paused, sensing the depth of possibility before her. This was no longer merely a journey of observation. Every choice, every step would now shape not only her path but the very architecture of the veil itself. A soft, melodious tone reached her ears, subtle yet unmistakable, carrying with it echoes of laughter, hope, and contemplation. Liara followed the sound instinctively, moving across bridges that responded to her presence, their glow intensifying as she aligned her steps with the rhythm of the echoes. The horizon shifted as she advanced, revealing an immense structure floating above the void, a palace of liquid light and reflective crystal, its walls vibrating with the resonance of countless moments, each one alive and conscious. The palace beckoned, not with force but with invitation, a whisper threading through her mind. All that is, all that could be, all that yet awaits resides within. Step forward, and the echoes will guide you. Liara crossed the final bridge and entered the palace, feeling the soft pulse of energy beneath her feet, each stone and surface attuned to the harmonics of her presence. The hall stretched infinitely, a labyrinth of corridors, chambers, and open spaces where light and shadow danced in continuous dialogue. Everywhere she looked, echoes manifested as figures, forms, and symbols, each awaiting acknowledgement, each offering insight into the patterns of existence. At the center of the palace, a fountain of liquid illumination spiraled upward, casting prismatic light across the walls. From its waters emerged a figure, radiant yet indistinct, shifting between forms, its voice like the gentle chiming of crystal. "Liara," it said, "you have moved through reflection, resonance, and convergence. Now comes the test of integration. To harmonize with the echoes, you must not only observe and respond but create, sustain, and guide. Only then can you become the weaver of the eternal threads." Liara approached the fountain, feeling the vibrations of countless echoes swirl around her, converging into currents that intertwined with her own awareness. She reached out, touching the surface, and waves of light and sound surged into her consciousness. She saw civilizations built on understanding, bridges formed between realms, individuals whose choices created patterns that rippled across time, and fragments of herself reflected in infinite variations. Every note, every rhythm, every subtle vibration demanded her attention, and she realized that the true challenge was not to master them all at once but to discern the harmony hidden within the chaos. Guided by the pulse of the amulet, Liara began to move, extending her awareness to each echo, responding intuitively to the patterns, harmonizing where resonance faltered, and allowing the threads to weave naturally in response to her presence. The palace itself seemed to respond, corridors and chambers shifting subtly to accommodate her influence, pathways forming and dissolving in accordance with the new harmonies she created. Time became fluid. Seconds stretched into eternities. Moments folded upon one another, and yet she felt no disorientation, only a profound clarity as her consciousness merged with the ebb and flow of the eternal echoes. And then, in a chamber bathed in soft violet light, Liara encountered a figure unlike any she had seen, a being of layered reflections, composed of threads of past, present, and possibility, its presence simultaneously commanding and gentle. "This is the guardian of paths," it said, its voice a resonance felt deep within her chest. "It will test not only your understanding of echoes but your capacity to act with intention, compassion, and awareness. Each step you take here will shape the pathways of existence beyond this veil. Are you prepared?" Liara nodded, feeling both anticipation and serenity. She realized that preparation was not a matter of mastery but of openness, of willingness to listen, to respond, to integrate the endless currents of resonance into purposeful action. The guardian extended a hand, and the floor dissolved into a swirling expanse of light and color. Shapes and patterns emerged, forming challenges that were not threats but invitations, sequences of movement, pulses of resonance, interactions with echoes that required precision, patience, and harmony. Liara moved among them, her hands tracing threads of light, her mind attuned to subtle shifts in rhythm, her heartbeat synchronized with the flow of infinite possibilities. Each successful alignment caused new pathways to emerge. Each misstep was gently corrected by the resonance of the guardian, teaching rather than punishing, guiding rather than commanding. Hours or perhaps lifetimes passed in this state of continuous engagement, yet Liara felt no fatigue, only an expanding clarity and a deepening connection with the essence of the veil. She could sense echoes converging from distant realms, past and future intertwining in a dynamic symphony that she now helped conduct. Finally, the chamber stilled, the colors and pulses settling into a serene harmony. The guardian spoke once more, its voice both celebratory and solemn. You have begun to integrate the echoes, to weave harmony from complexity. But the veil holds deeper currents, shadows of possibility, and choices that test not only skill but courage, empathy, and vision. Your journey is far from complete, yet the path ahead is clear. Step forward, Lyra, and continue weaving the threads of the eternal echoes. For the city awaits the wisdom you carry. The palace dissolved around her, leaving her standing once again on a bridge of light stretching toward a horizon of infinite pathways. She felt the pulse of the veil resonating through every fiber of her being, the amulet steady and bright, each echo a note in the symphony she now understood as her own. And as she stepped forward into the next expanse of corridors, islands, and spiraling bridges, Lyra knew with certainty that the journey was no longer about discovery alone. It was about creation, harmonization, and the deliberate shaping of the eternal currents that connected all things. The veil shimmered around her, alive with infinite possibilities, and Lyra, fully aware, fully present, fully attuned, moved onward, ready to weave the next threads, ready to listen, ready to act, ready to harmonize with the unending echoes of eternity.